The Mespotamian Penguin by me. In pre-Christian Mesopotamia, far from the great river Nile, lived a very sweaty penguin and his friend who was a crocodile. Nobody knows how the penguin got there all those years ago, but we do know he must have been sweaty because of the absence of snow. Now, the blubber that covers a penguin is designed for keeping it warm, and so it's absolutely useless in your average desert storm, whilst the tough old skin of a crocodile, well, that's more like hardened leather plates, a fact they often discussed at great length once they become good mates. Now, the story of our odd best friends was famous far and wide because it captured the imagination of a Mesopotamian scribe. The scribe was wise in many ways with a knowing, gentle face, and he noticed that people treat others like shit if they were born to a different race. And yet the penguin was clearly different to your average rank and file, because his bestest mate in the whole wide world was a huge great crocodile. And he wondered what the world might learn by studying this pair, whether following their example might make the world more fair. And at first he thought that he must be wrong, because it did seem quite absurd that he might learn a worthwhile lesson from a reptile and a bird. But then he thought that there must be a lesson to learn from all this, because against all odds, the penguin and croc were clearly quite happy, whilst the locals were miserable sods. And then after much pondering his thoughts became clear, and he felt the enlightening conclusion draw near, and once he had reached it he wrote it all down and then pinned it all up on the walls of the town. "Christ on a bike," said his declaration, "I've had a brilliant idea. You should treat other people with friendship and love instead of distrust, hate and fear. A penguin and crocodile taught me all this, a truly unusual sight. And in case you think I'm taking the piss, go and see them, you'll see that I'm right." And some of the people read this advice, and some even took it on board, and henceforth greeted strangers with an outstretched hand instead of the blade of a sword. And so it was that our odd pair of friends were the cause of an outbreak of peace that spread through old Mesopotamia and then throughout the ancient East. And as for our friends, well, they were happy, because their simple and sincere wish was to live in old Mesopotamia in a lake that was teeming with fish. And they did. The end. Bye bye.